welcome. My name is Avatar Roby. I am one of the DMs here at DNV Tubers, and I'm currently be taking a look at the new Cosmere RPG by Brotherwise Games from Brandon Sanderson's series, the Stormlight Archive specifically, is what I'll be looking at. So for those of you unaware, there's been a Kickstarter campaign for a brand new TTRPG, like I mentioned, by Brotherwise Games, and it is based on Brandon Sanderson's fantasy books. The one I'm looking at right now is for the Stormlight Archive, but there is also one based on Mistborn coming, I believe, later on, and they are compatible with each other, so you can theoretically make a character in the Mistborn RPG and then bring them over and play them in a Stormlight campaign, which I think is a really cool feature. So I'll be looking at two books today. I'm only going to be looking at the starter rules here, and I'll be looking at the handbook, and I'm only going to be looking at the game mechanics, so I won't be looking at any of the lore or story in this book. I know there are some spoilers in here, so anyone who hasn't read up to Wind and Truth, be warned before reading the book yourself. I won't be looking too much into the spoilers, but to give you an example of what kind of things this book might spoil, you'll notice how there's radiant paths here, and it shows you all the radiant orders. It will spoil a lot of things that are in the books yet in regards to some of the radiant orders we haven't seen yet. So just be warned if you do look up any more content about this book anywhere online, if you are trying to avoid spoilers. I'm only going to be looking at the character creation and gameplay mechanics of this book to give you a better understanding of how it is to run as a DM or play as a player, and how different it would be to other systems like D&D 5e, or how similar it might be to other stuff. So I'm going to start off by looking at the shorter quick start rule. So this is the starter rulebook. And one thing I will say about these PDFs, you can't see it on the stream, but whenever I hover over an image, there is text descriptions of the image, which is something I've not seen in a lot of other TTRPG books, especially something you would think it would be standard for a big company like Wizards of the Coast to make this an accessibility feature for their big campaigns, but no. I really do hope we see more PDFs do this in the future, though. All right, let's have a look at this book. Contents. Alright, let's have a look. The artwork in this is gorgeous. I believe they got multiple different artists for this, and like I've been impressed by everything so far. So part 1, character statistics, adventuring, combat, conversations. Okay, we're gonna skim through some of this. I'm sure most of us know what a role-playing game is. If you've been subscribed to this channel or what have been looking up D&D content, you know what a role-playing game is. Okay, what you need to play, we need that, okay. Using the Cosmere RPG dice, this RPG uses a set of polyhedral dice. In these sets, each die has a different number of sides, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 20. The RPG also uses one additional 6-sided die known as the plot die. I think that's a unique gimmick or feature. I believe you can use any 6-sided die for it as well. You don't have to get the specific one, which I know some RPGs, like I think it was Legend of the Five Rings, that some are infamous for having dice that you need to have to play the game. So it's really tricky to use any regular dice for it. And it sort of became a gimmick or a way to make you spend more money on their specific dice for their specific sets. I think there are others, but I can't remember them off the top of my head. What are the text rules? Dice referred to by the letter D. Okay. Rolling a skill test. Whenever the outcome of your character's actions are uncertain, you make a skill test using a D20 determined whether you succeed or fail. Tests are the core mechanic of the games, and you roll them frequently. Okay, so it's just like 5e. You roll a d20 plus your modifier. Pick skill and roll the dice. Determine which skill you're using. Add your skill modifier. Yep. Add any bonus or penalties. Some tests gain bonuses or penalties in certain circumstances. Add any of these to your d20 roll. Okay, compared to... okay, they got a DC. That's more or less the same as 5e. I'm guessing this is a plot die here. That D6 that has those extra symbols on it. Do you add the plot die to your roll? Or, okay, do you know, let me look more into this. Here we go. Some skill tests require additional dice. Okay, plot die. On especially important rolls, the GM might have you add the plot die to introduce opportunities or complications to the story. So it's like advantage, but the DM decides when you get to add it. Advantage or disadvantage, same as 5e. Damage die. When you attack an adversary, you add 1 or more damage die to your test, which determines how powerful your attack is. See attacking in part 3. Okay, we will see that later. Right, this is the bit I'm interested in, the plot die. In addition to normal polyhedral dice, the game uses a custom die called the plot die. You don't automatically roll the plot die with every skill test. It's only used to raise the stakes during tense moments and test critical the plot. NPC tests don't generally use the plot die. When you roll the plot die, the result might add a bonus to your test, or it can also result in unforeseen opportunities or complications arising from your actions, as described in the upcoming sections. The plot die has 6 sides, 2 of which are blank. Another 2 have an opportunity symbol, and the final 2 have a complication symbol. There's a chart there that says 1 and 2 are complications, 5 and 6 are opportunities. Okay. So you don't want to roll a 1 or a 2, you want to roll a 5 or a 6. 3 and a 4 do nothing. If you don't own the game's custom plot die, you can instead use a normal d6, convert the result using the plot die diagram. Now, 1 and 2 are the worst results, so they offset the complication by granting a bonus to the test. See complication bonus die. Okay, I see what they're trying to do here. I get the idea. I don't know if any of you have played Blades in the Dark, which is another TTRPG. In fact, it's the first TTRPG I ran a full campaign in. But it does remind me of a similar feature that it had in there that I really liked. And I fully encourage people to steal, even if you're running other games like 5e. So, Blades in the Dark had a thing called... well, first of all, let me explain what Blades in the Dark is. It's a TTRPG that basically uses only d6s. And the way it works is, let's say you've got 3 points in stealth. That means whenever you do a stealth check, you roll 3 d6s and you count successes as 6, mixed successes as like in-betweens, and failures are 1 and 2. And that's basically how it works. 6s were critical successes, 5 and 6 were success. Something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was a very simple, streamlined, very easy to use system. And it had a mechanic called a Devil's Bargain, which you can offer your player, and I thought was a fantastic feature. What happens is, let's say your player does a skill check. Let's say they're doing a stealth check and they failed the stealth check, or you can even offer it before they do it. So they're about to do a stealth check. You can offer them a Devil's Bargain, which adds an extra d6 to their roll, but it will have consequences later. So it's like a simple guaranteed consequence, but it'll come at an unspecified later time. It could be disastrous, it could be very minor. So let's say my player wanted to knock out a guard and they're about to do a grapple roll or something, and they choose to do Devil's Bargain. They can do the Devil's Bargain, they succeed, but it could be the cost is they hit the guard too hard and now that guard is dead, and that's going to alert everyone else later when the Spirit Wardens come to have a look, because they can detect when someone's died. Or it could be something as simple as, let's say the player is trying to steal a bottle of wine. They do a check, they get a Devil's Bargain, they succeed. The bargain is the bottle was open and they spilled the drink all over their clothes and now they have very wet clothes. That could be it. It could be something as minor as that. But the tension when someone takes the Devil's Bargain is always like fantastic, and it adds so much to the story. And if you want, you can have your players participate as well and have them decide what they think the consequence should be. It's all up to you. I think it's a really great feature. I see the plot dice trying to do the same thing. I just think it's not going to be quite as effective, maybe. I don't know. I think I'd have to play the game to see, but I get the inspiration for this. I'm not sure how often people will use it, though. Raising the stakes. When your characters are to make an important skill test, the GM can emphasize by raising the stakes. When the stakes are raised, roll the plot die at the same time as you roll your d20 for the test. The GM might raise the stakes to emphasize tests like the following. Tests that directly contribute to the current mission. Tests that play directly to your character's purpose, obstacles, or goals, or other tests with high tensions or dramatic importance, as determined by the GM. One fun way I can see the plot die being used is, let's say my players encounter a stray cat and one of them wants to pet the cat, I could make them roll the plot die to see if they get scratched. I think that's one fun way I can see myself using the plot die. Resolving a plot die roll. When you roll the plot die with your test, the effect depends on whether you roll an opportunity, a complication, or a blank. If you roll a blank on the plot die, no positive or negative side effects apply to your test. If you resolve the remainder of the test as normal. If you roll an opportunity or complication, the opportunities and complications. Okay. Raising the stakes. Some abilities allow the character. Some abilities give your character the ability to raise the stakes yourselves. Even if you don't have one of these abilities, you might think a test is worthy. Okay, it's basically saying you get to decide when it's used. It's the GM's call. Okay. Opportunities and complications. When you make a test, opportunities and complications represent beneficial or detrimental side effects. Okay. Spending an opportunity. When you gain an opportunity, this applies a beneficial effect to the outcome of your current test, regardless of whether the test succeeds or fails. You can spend the opportunity to choose one of the following effects. Aid an ally. Thanks to your action, the next test made by an ally of your choice gains an advantage. Collect yourself. You recover 1 focus. Critical hit. Change your hit into a critical. Influence the narrative. Your actions. Oh, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be very dependent on how good or bad your players are. Your actions result in a positive narrative effect of your choice, which the GM must approve. For example, you might be trying to rough up a ghost blood agent. If you fail on your ultimate goal but roll an opportunity on the test, you and GM might decide to pick the agent's pocket while you had your hands on them. Okay. This is making me think of other similar systems. So in the Alien role-playing game, they had a really interesting mechanic when it came to critical hits. So if you did a critical roll, like a critical success, one of the things you could do is, obviously you got the basic stuff like additional damage. But one of the really cool things you can do is you can bank a success. So let's say you did a roll and you got crit on, let's say, a combat roll or something, like a long-ranged attack roll. Instead of doing double damage, you can bank that success, so next time you make a long-range combat roll, you can just automatically succeed it. Which I thought was a really cool way of using critical hits. And I see it's sort of similar in the sense that you can give your ally an advantage instead, or recover focus, which I believe is a resource you'll have. I can see the similarities between this and other RPGs I played. And it's making me think this has a lot of potential, but I think I'll need to watch a few Let's Plays or playthroughs myself to see how much I see myself using it, because there have been times where I've seen mechanics like the plot die, and it sounds good on paper, but in practice it might not be. Which is why I sort of feel like I need to see this being played, because sometimes, maybe during first or second session, people will be using a certain mechanic a lot, and then by the 7th or 8th session, people have completely forgotten about it and stopped using it. Which is totally okay. These rules are more like suggestions. They're not, or at least that's how I see them. I'm not the kind of DM that makes everyone follow every single rule by the letter. Sometimes it's okay to be a little flexible. Facing a complication. When you gain a complication, this applies a negative side effect to the outcome of your current test, regardless of whether the test succeeds or fails. The GM should spend this complication to choose one of the following effects. Hinder an ally. Your actions have unforeseen repercussions. The next test taken by PC gains a disadvantage. Become distracted. You lose 1 focus. Or influence the narrative. See, this is what made me think. This is what made me think of the Devil's Bargain from Blades in the Dark. And I think the Devil's Bargain works a little better than this, if I'm being very honest. Because it adds a lot more tension, because it could be anything, whereas this sort of says, hey, you can be one of these 3 things. I might, if I do run this game, I might just ignore the suggestions for what a complication could be and just have fun doing things myself. Like if a player character is doing an agility test to get away from an enemy or something, and they roll a complication, I might just say the shoelaces are untied. And they have to do it at disadvantage now. Although I think hinder an ally seems the kind of thing I'd want to do, but I think I might do it for the whole party or even the player, instead of just always an ally. Complication bonus. True to its name, complication can complicate a situation, but it can also help your test result. When you gain a complication from rolling the plot die, it also grants you a bonus to your current D20 roll. The bonus equals the number displayed inside the complication symbol. So either roll a +2. Oh, so even if things go wrong, you get a +2 to your roll. If you get a complication from the source, it tells you what bonus to add, if any. Okay, in that case, I might have changed my mind on this, because because I thought this 2 and 4 were taking away. But if it's like, hey, things are going to go wrong, but you get a +4 to your roll. Okay, do you know what? This has changed my mind a little bit. Okay. Character statistics. I believe these are mostly the same as you would see in 5e. I think the key difference from what I've seen is this bit here. So, physical, cognitive, and spiritual. Though throughout the Cosmere, reality is composed of 3 facets: the physical realm, cognitive realm, and the spiritual realm. Many of the statistics are categorized into 1 of 3 facets, as seen in 3 columns on your character sheet. So you have physical, spiritual, and cognitive abilities. You got your statistics, part 1, details statistics you find. Okay. Attributes, defenses, deflect. Alright, this is a character sheet. In fact, this is probably the easiest way to explain from what I've seen so far. You notice here you got physical defense, cognitive defense, spiritual defense. This one's a 15, 13, 14. These are basically like your AC, but you had 3 different ACs. So instead of like one AC of like 15 or whatever, you got a physical AC, a cognitive AC, and a spiritual AC, defending against the 3 different types of attack. Which I think it's a pretty easy thing to understand. It's very similar to what D&D 5e, everything else, from what you can see. You got strength and speed are your physical stats, intellect and willpower are your cognitive abilities, and awareness and presence are the spiritual ones, which are probably the ones that are the most different, because I'm pretty sure you can tell what strength and speed are just, strength, dexterity, intelligence, willpower, intelligence, wisdom from D&D 5e. I'm guessing these are substituted for things like charisma. Alright, let's have a look at it. Strength. Strength is your physical power, toughness, and athleticism. Some type there. Lifting capacity, okay. Carrying capacity. Speed is your quickness and dexterity, represents your finesse and overall alacrity. Your movement speed determines... Yeah, so this essentially works the same as your dexterity. Intellect is your applied intelligence and wit. It represents your ability to store and recall knowledge. Okay. Willpower is determination and mental fortitude. It represents your cognitive resilience, ability to enact your will on others, and resistance to outside influences. Recovery die. Your willpower determines your recovery die, which determines how efficiently you recover health and focus when you take a break. So I'm guessing from what I've seen, focus is probably the same as... I think they're making it as an MP type stat, so you got like mana points or whatever. Awareness is your wisdom and connection to the world around you. Presence is your charisma. Okay, so this is your charisma. Your attributes combined form your defenses, which protect you from unwanted effects. You have 3 defense values: physical defense affected by strength and speed, cognitive defense affected by intellect and willpower, spiritual defense affected by awareness and presence. Okay, let me scroll back up to that character sheet. Listen to minor wounds. When you create a character, your maximum health equals 10 plus strength plus any bonus or penalty. Focus. Okay, this is a new one that I want to see. Health basically works the same as HP. Your focus is a cognitive resource representing your mental resolve and your ability to resist influence and distractions, as well as to execute complex or precise maneuvers. Your maximum focus equals 2 plus willpower plus any bonus or penalties. Focus can be spent to fuel talents and other abilities or withstand. So essentially, it's like spell slots. When you have no focus left, your attention might waver, you might stare intently while working through a problem, or you might be overcome with frustration. You can recover focus by resting. Okay. Instead of having like level 1 or level 2 spell slots, I think it's just spell slots in general, which is your focus points. Investiture, this is the big thing I think that this RPG would have brought in from the Cosmere books. Investiture is a spiritual resource representing your ability to hold and channel investiture, an energy that suffuses the Cosmere. On Roshar, this represents your ability to breathe in and hold Stormlight. To harness the power of Stormlight, your character will need to choose a radiant path and bond a spread. When you do, you'll gain investiture pools that work much like focus does. Okay, so it's like a second type of resource. In any scene, your senses and what you're aware of are key. This can be straightforward in an open field on a sunny day, but senses are more complicated when darkness, fog, or illusions. Okay. Senses range, I'll skip past that. Skills, using skills. Yeah, skill checks. EC, difficult to check. Targeting without senses. Okay, defenses. Let's scroll past this. Venturing, okay. Gonna scroll past this section as well. Oh, hang on, rest. In between scenes, you'll hopefully find time to rest and recuperate. This gives you an opportunity to recover, eat, tend to your wounds, and plan for the days ahead. There are 2 types of rest, short rest and long rest. Okay, same as D&D. That's what I wanted to know. Oh, hang on, this is slightly different. Recovering health and focus. After a short rest, you can roll your recovery die to determine how well you recover. Add the roll result to your current health, your current focus, or a combination of the two. For example, if you roll a 5 on your recovery die, you might choose to recover 3 health and 2 focus. Oh, alternative benefits. If you prefer, you can forego recovery yourself and instead spend your time to gain one of the following benefits. Tend to others. You provide medical assistance to 1 or more willing allies you're resting with. When you do, they add your medicine modifier to their recovery roll. Okay. Downtime. I'm going to skip past this section. These are all the different abilities. Okay, skip past that. Damage. When you do damage, you reduce your current health. Okay, same. From what I can see, a lot of this is very similar to 5e, which is, I think, a good thing. I know a lot of people will say, oh no, they're all the same. You know, this is more or less just 5e. What's the point of this? I think having similarities makes it easier for people who are used to 5e to adjust to a new system, because if you get overloaded with too many mechanics at once, people are less able to keep track of what they need to do or what they can do. Injuries. When you suffer a particularly grievous harm, you might suffer an injury that takes a while to heal or that never healed at all. Suffering an injury. You always suffer an injury when you're reduced to 0 health. So, okay, so when you are knocked out, you get an injury. Oh, this is similar to... Okay, this is from Blades in the Dark. So, in Powered by the Apocalypse games, when you take damage to a certain amount, you get injuries. And yeah, this is exactly the same. If you get a certain number of injuries at first, like... You get disadvantage as well in this? No, I think once you get to a certain number of injuries, that's when your character dies. I think this is something that's a good addition. I think 5e could benefit from having a similar situation like this. Duration is 66 days. Okay. Injury effect. Okay, here we go. This is what I'm after. Each injury remains until it heals. When a character suffers an injury, you decide its effects. Consider what caused the injury. Lowers your overall stamina. Roll your... Okay, yeah. Okay, so the way this does it is you gotta roll a d8 to decide what it does. I prefer the way they did it in Blades, where you had tiers, where the first one was, you know, you get less... Like, maybe you roll at disadvantage, and then afterwards, maybe you can't do a certain number of things, and afterwards, you can't take part in combat or something. Okay, this is slightly different. I think I prefer the way Blades did it, where I had it in tiers. Oh damn, they literally just threw in a picture of Shallan killing her own mother in this book. On a page that has nothing to do with it. Oh, this is just page 29 of the starter rules. The dark moment from the books, but I'm not sure why. It's, don't get me wrong, it's fucking great artwork. It's just kind of jarring, but... Minor NPCs and injuries, recovering. Okay, death player characters in this game are hardly can usually withstand multiple grievous wounds. However, described the injury rolls, each character's injuries apply penalty for each injury rolls. Okay. One of the reasons why I like Blade in the Dark is when your character is injured, it's a sense of like, the DM can't just say, boom, your character is dead now, go roll a new one. You can hold on to the character until you're ready to let go of them. It just makes them less and less effective during rolls or during combat when they are too grievously injured. And it gives you a chance to have, like, you know, a proper goodbye for the character. And not just, like, unceremoniously killed by goblins in a random cave somewhere because you failed your death save. Which can be very anticlimactic at times. Right, combat. Let's have a look. Order of combat. In a fight, everyone acts simultaneously and every second counts. To represent this, a game divides time into series of rounds. During each round, the PC, enemies, and other participants each get a chance to take one turn, during which they can act in a variety of rounds and turns. Taking a fast turn, taking a slow turn. Oh, hang on. Turn phases. Fast PC turns, fast NPC. Slow PC, slow NPC, begin... Oh! Okay, I think no initiative is a good thing. I'll tell you what this reminds me of. It's the Avatar Legends role-playing game, and I'll explain very quickly how the combat in that game works. So in Avatar Legends, each round had 3 phases. You had the evade, defend, and attack phase. What would happen is the players and the DM would choose what actions they want to take. And they would essentially go simultaneously like this. So the players who are doing an invade action go first, and then the next phase is the defend phase. So any players or NPCs doing a defensive action go next, and then any players doing an attacking action go third, and then you start the next round. I thought the Avatar one was a little clunky. It could be very clunky at times, especially when you had a lot of NPCs that the DM needed to decide the attacks for. The physical game, on my background Kickstarter, it came with a deck of cards as well for players to use. So what could happen is players can put a card face down once they've chosen their action, and then they reveal evade, attack, or defend. So I can see the idea behind it. But when it comes into practice, especially if you're doing it like digitally on a VTT, it's somewhat cumbersome. I think this works slightly better though, because when I first saw fast and slow actions, I thought it'd be like the Alien TTRPG. The way the Alien RPG works is it's the same as D&D. You have initiative. You draw initiative from a deck of cards labeled 1 to 10, and then what would happen is you can either pick one fast action and one slow action, or your turn can be 2 fast actions, which I thought was really cool because it lets you be more, I guess, malleable with what you want to do. In fact, I always thought it's kind of silly that D&D doesn't let you have 2 bonus actions as your turn. But the whole point of a bonus action is it's an action you can take fast enough to not take an entire action. But this is kind of interesting in the sense that the fast actions go first. Hang on. Taking a fast action, if you act fast, your turn, take your turn first before any enemies go. But you only get 2 actions. Taking the slow turn, if you instead act slow, you act after any fast enemies, but you get 3 actions. And I like the idea that the player characters always go first. Okay, it's high risk, high reward. If you want to go fast, you can go fast, but you lose an action. Hang on, there's more to this. Gaining actions and reactions. Most things you do during each round are categorized as either an action or reaction. The upcoming actions and reactions section details what you can do with each of these. Gaining reactions. At the start of combat, unless you're surprised, you gain a reaction, which you can use anytime before the start of your first turn. Additionally, at the start of each of your turns, you gain a new reaction, regardless of whether you took a fast or slow turn. Some talents and other abilities can grant additional reactions. Each reaction lasts until the start of your next turn, or until you use it. You can use it to respond to specific triggers or at any point in any round, either on or off your turn. This represents your ability to instinctively respond to someone or something on the battlefield. Actions can only be taken during your turn, so any remaining at the end of your turn are lost, so you can't like bank your actions, which was the next thing I wanted to ask about. And heartbeat, okay, oh, if you're a shard bearer, yeah. Single round of combat takes a while to resolve, but it represents only moments passing in the story. From a rules perspective, the player conducts their turns in sequence. This is merely a practical way to organize everyone's decisions. From the perspective of your story unfolding on Roshar, you and those around you all act simultaneously in a chaotic mess of battle. If your group needs to know a battle's exact timing because it matters to an element of the narrative, assume each round of combat takes about 10 seconds. So if you're summoning this shard blade, you'd take 1 round of combat. Okay. Price seems to work the same as in 5e, that's fine. Can be contested between stealth and perception. Okay. Actions and reaction. Aid, avoid danger, banter. Oh, what's that hollow triangle? I'm guessing that's a free action, isn't it? Yes, free action. Bantering is a free action. Dropping something is a free action. Okay. So 1 triangle is a slow action, 2 is a fast action. Wait, did I say it the right way around? Or did I say it wrong? Making an attack. All attack follow these steps unless otherwise specified. Choose your target, roll the attack. Damage dice, resolve damage. Okay, same as 5e. past this bit. Let's get past this for now as well. This seems like having objective gate-based play similar. Combat, but not specifically speaking combat. Sometimes you might have players sneaking into a place or something. Not really what I'm looking to read into at the moment. I'm just skimming through this right now. I think that's the end of the oh, hang on, what's this? Game mass GMing, okay. Box. I'm mainly looking at things that make this different to 5e, so I'm just getting past the things that are similar, which there is a lot of. Right, let me look at the actual handbook now. Contents. I want to skip past some things. Let me look at character creation. You can choose your origins, your starting path, your attributes, your skills and experiences, the talents, equip yourself, tell your story, calculate your final statistics. Okay. Let's see what I would have to go through if I wanted to make a new character. First step is just finding your character, is choosing where you come from, including your ancestry and culture. Do you think about your origins? Use the tips at the beginning of chapter 2 to begin brainstorming other aspects of your story. You'll solidify those details in step 7 of character creation. Choose your ancestry. Your ancestry represents the species you're descended from in this game. You can choose from 2 most common sapient species of Roshar, humans and singers. Your ancestry guide your appearance, and depending on the capabilities of your species, it might unlock some unique talents. I imagine, since there's only 2 at the moment in Stormlight, because you got singers and humans, I imagine once they release more books for other Cosmere stories, this will be somewhat expanded and you'd have a lot more different races to choose from. Like I imagine Mistborn will be adding in things like Kolos-blooded characters, or maybe even Kandra, who knows. Choose your culture. Consider the society or societies in which you were raised or have spent the most time. These are represented by culture. So you can be a singer that's raised in human cultures, right? Or vice versa. Starting path. Player characters gain most of their abilities from paths, reflecting the specialty, training, and experience. Your character's chosen path significantly influences the role you play in the game. If you played other role-playing games, you're likely familiar with classes. Oh, okay, I thought this would be like background. No, this is basically your class. Paths are similar to, but highly flexible. You begin with a heroic path that grants you mundane abilities, but you gain levels. You might choose a radiant path. Ah, okay. Choose your starting path. During steps character creation, you choose your first heroic path, starting path. This book, essentially, it's like multi-classing, isn't it? How do I create a radiant? Radiants are the most iconic wielders of powerful magic surges on Roshar. When a human or singer takes special oaths and bonds their soul with a willing sapient strength, the person becomes radiant, able to breathe in and utilize stormlight to fuel their powers. Radiants glow with the stormlight they breathe in, which increases their physical abilities, rapidly heals, okay, blah blah blah. If you want to play Radiant in this game, you certainly can. When you first create your character, they aren't yet Radiant, unless GM decides otherwise, such as a campaign starting at level 2 or higher. Follow a Radiant path. Your character must first swear ideals to work towards the goal during play, as described in Chapter 5. Alright, heroic paths at a glance. You got Agent, the talented operative who solves problems with a keen mind and deft hand. Envoy, an insightful negotiator with adaptability who adeptly influences others. Hunter, a skilled sharpshooter and outdoors person who seeks and eliminates problems. Leader, a poised commander who directs and guides others to be their best. Scholar, an adroit thinker who excels at planning and building. Warrior, a fighter who relies on their skills, brute strength, or indomitable will. It tells you what they specialize in, what their starting skill is, and what their key talent would be. Okay. Your character's innate characteristics are represented by 6 attributes. These form the foundations for your skills, physicals, and mental limits, and more. Consider which attributes best represent your strengths. Most humans and singers have attribute scores ranging from 0 to 5. The higher your score, the more exceptional you are in the area. When you gain levels, you can increase your attribute scores even further. On your character sheet, distribute 12 points across the 6 attributes in any order. You don't have to put in every attribute. 0 is a valid attribute score. And you can put more in. But you can't put more than 3 into any attribute during the step. For example, you might choose a distribution of 0, 3, 2, 3, 3, and 1. Okay, 3 is the maximum. 0 is allowed. You have a 12 points is the starting amount. So you don't really roll for stats for this. You know what? I don't mind this. I think this is a pretty cool idea. Skills and expertise. The next step is consider what skills and expertise your character has honed, regardless of the innate attributes. Character advancement. How does leveling up in this work? Hang on, level 21. Do you know what? Does this carry on going for... Okay, let me read this properly. Let's glimpse through it. During the game, your character will face adventure and adversity, making friends and foes alike. As you do, you'll advance in 2 meaningful ways. First, you'll earn reward points for completing personal goals. This can grant you powerful items, allies, and abilities as detailed in Chapter 8. Second, your campaign progress, which your GM will indicate that your collaborative story has reached certain... Okay, so it's milestone level up, not EXP. I prefer milestone leveling up. I'm not a fan of EXP, it's just extra math on top of math I'm already having to do. When this happens, each character gains a level representing each of you have reached a significant milestone in skills and experience. Tier 1, level 1 to 5. Character just coming into the powers, blah blah blah. Okay, level 6. Well, I'm interested in it. It says here 21 plus. After level 20, you've embraced your identity, your powers, and your destiny. At this point, you might be leaving the struggle against Cosmere level threats, or you might retire into a life of peace and a job well done. Okay, I'm guessing once you reach a level cap, you can keep going, but I think by that point, you've unlocked everything you need to know, or everything you can about your character. They get an attribute point at every 3 levels, okay. Once they reach level 21, all they get is +1 health. Okay. So once they reach level cap, any level they get beyond that is just extra health or extra skill rank or talent. Okay, that's interesting. You got your ancestry bonuses. Single ancestry. Here we go. Change form. They can change forms in this. Okay. mate form, yeah, bonded with the lifespan, and your form is specialized for reproduction. I think that I like the fact that that's a form that can other players take. Ah, here we go. They got a whole graph for it. Okay. Oh, so it's not fast and slow. So those icons mean is how many actions it'll take. So 3 arrows means 3 actions. So it has to be a slow action, whereas 2 makes 2 actions. Okay. Oh, that works a lot better than what I was expecting it to do. I can see the singers being like the druids of this game, because you'd need to know about all your forms and what bonuses they provide. You've got prerequisites as well for each one. You need to get certain talents to unlock certain forms. Okay. I like how in-depth it is for this race specifically. Use examples of names as well. I like when books do that. Yeah, I'm trying to look at this from the perspective of someone who's never read a Cosmere book before. So let's say you're running this game for friends who know nothing about the Stormlight Archive or anything Brandon Sanderson has ever written. And as someone who's obviously read the books, for me, I can see, like, there's distinct differences between the different human cultures and stuff. But if you're running this game for someone who has never read any of these books, I imagine you'll probably have to explain, or at least let them read through these sections properly. Because there's a lot of information here that can't be taken in at a glance. And you might need to give them like a world primer as well, so they know what each of the different empires and backgrounds and such are. I can see this being somewhat of a roadblock for introducing new players into the game. Or at least makes it slightly more difficult. As a fan, I like the fact that they've written so much about this and given us so much details, but I can see it being something people might be put off by if there's too much text to take in at once. I've been through most of this already in the starter guide. I'm gonna skip past this. This is a scene of an Azish skybreaker. Okay. One of the most iconic moments as well in Word the Radiance. I love how many different versions of this scene I've seen drawn, because it's one of the most popular scenes for people to draw. You got a post test. Yep, you can do contested dice rolls. I get that. Skimming through this, see what else we can find. Heroic paths. Okay, I think this might be what I'm looking into. We've seen the basic ones like the agent and the hunter and the warrior. What I want to see is stuff like the radiant path. Oh, this gives you some more information than the starter guide did. Okay. Oh, this must be a 2-page spread, okay. Oh, you got subclasses. Okay, so you got the agent class, and then you got investigator, spy, or thief as the different path you can take. Okay. I imagine these probably work as subclasses. Right, let's look at what the other ones are then. Let's scroll down. Okay. Got a diplomat, faithful, and mentor for the envoy. That's okay. This reminds me of playbooks from games like Avatar and Blades in the Dark, where each character has their own specific type of sheet. Hunter. Yeah, what can Hunter become? Archer, assassin, or tracker? Leader. I imagine this is the Kaladin class. Got a champion, officer, and politico. Okay. That's quite a varied amount, because political I imagine is more diplomatic and like charisma based. Whereas champion is probably more combat focused. Scholars can become artifabrians, strategists, or surgeon. Warriors can become duelist. Shardbearer also. Okay, Shardbearer is something you can meet from the very start. That's interesting. I wonder how many people are going to pick Shardbearer though, when the option of being Radiant is also there. What else do we have? Radiant Path, okay. 9 playable Radiant Paths. So I imagine, yeah, Bondsmith are the only ones you can't play as. Yeah, as you speak ideals, you unlock more surges. First ideal lets you have access to investiture. I imagine most players will probably pick Radiant Path at some point, but I think it might work better in the story if the GM chooses each player's friend bond and which Radiant they'll become if they choose players' Radiants. I'm guessing the spren just magically appears when the players are ready to do it as well. In general, when you behave in a way that appeals to a certain type of spren or aligns with the ideals of a given order, a Radiant spren can be drawn to you. Yeah, they'll just be drawn to you at a certain point in the story when the GM decides. Yeah, the GM replies, "These words are accepted," and then your goal is simply, okay. Level 1 criminal to a level 10 mafia boss, right? Or whatever that ad was, right? forsaking your ideals. This is something I want to see. When you join an order, you're swearing to follow its ideals your entire life, embodying and living them to the best of your ability. If you start to act against your oath, this can damage the bond with your spren, causing you to lose access to surges and potentially even killing your spren. The first time you act against your ideals, nothing occurs. No one is perfect and mistakes can be forgiven. If you act against your ideals a second time before demonstrably advancing your ideals, your bond weakens and you lose access to your highest ideal and its benefits. And you lose access to any talents with that. I imagine this is more for gameplay and not to do with the games, or not the game, the books, lore or anything. So they've modified it a little to fit a TTRPG or game mechanics specifically. These losses continue each time your actions do, removing your highest remaining talent ideal until you have none left. After this, continually breaking your oath will permanently bar you from the Order's path and talents. If you have a particularly strong bond with your spren, doing so can severely hurt or even kill your spren. Before it gets that far though, you can repair your bond. If you prove that you are once again dedicated to your ideals and that your infractions are behind you, you reverse any damage to your spren bond. It's up to you and your GM to decide what this looks like for you. I can see players trying to abuse this by like breaking the bond slightly and then, saying sorry and like getting it back and then like immediately knowing what the limit is, pushing it to that point and then undoing it. Me as a GM, if I see a player doing that, instead of making it reset to what it was before, if they do it again, I would have it lower to below what it was before. Just so they know like it's not a Control-Z easy fix option that they can keep abusing and metagaming around it. On your journey to speak the first ideal, you or the GM might conclude that your character isn't compatible with the philosophy of the order you initially want to join. If you already chosen a first ideal talent when this happens, you can switch your current first ideal talent after a long rest and instead choosing a different order that may be a better fit. From narrative perspective, this attracts a radiant spren of a different type. However, when you switch, you can keep any milestones. Okay, this is definitely something for the game only. You can switch before fully committing. But I think once you've gone past the first ideal to become a second or third ideal, you can't do that anymore. The spren doesn't have a stat block and they don't take turns of their own instead. They serve more as a force of nature who can act whenever it suits the shared story. Okay. Bonding multiple radiant spren. Okay, hang on, this is interesting. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't read Wind and Truth yet. Wind and Truth, sorry. Though incredibly uncommon, it's possible to bend multiple radiant spren, either two of the same type, or even two of different types. While each PC can usually only join one radiant path, you and your GM can make an exception if it fits the story. For each spren bond, you must speak and maintain the new oath that described below. Same type of spren. If you're bonding a second spren of the same type as your existing bond, you don't need to choose your existing ideal talent a second time, but you may once again progress through your ideal goal and speak the ideals in a unique way under a new circumstance, reflecting how you've changed since you swore the oath the previous time. Any future ideals you swear can count towards... Okay, this is interesting. I'm not sure if I would allow it, because I think it would overcomplicate things a little, unless I'm playing with veteran players who can keep track of things like this on their sheet. Recommended hero pack for Dustbringers. Okay. Oh, this is for all of them. Agents, Hunter, Scholar. Okay. I'm gonna skip past this. I know there might be some spoilers in here. First ideal. Friend bond. Okay. Abrasion. Okay, these are the different surges you'd get. Okay. and skim past this. These are the edge dancers. Motivations from... Okay. I love the artwork in this. This is such a fucking gorgeous book. No scholars. There's a lot of lore here, but I'm going to skip past it because I don't want to go through too much of it or spoil too much of it for anyone. Light weavers. Skybreakers. I think Skybreakers are some of the coolest ones, but I don't know if I would stick to their ideals or become a Skybreaker myself. I'm more of a well shaper personally. But Division is such a powerful surge. And Gravitation is just cool as hell. Bone wards. Oh, they bond peaks, okay. Truth Watcher. Oh, I like that it actually gives you hints on how to roleplay each spren as well. That'll be useful as a DM. Although I can imagine this being a lot of work as a DM. If you have players with a different spren, and you have to remember how each spren decides to interact with them. Well shaper, this is my Radiant Path. Of course, the iconic Windrunner. And Bondsmith is the only one I believe is not playable. Due to the kind of spren you'd need to bond with. Surges, okay. I'm gonna skip past this section. This is just detailing. Yeah, okay. I don't want to get too much into this. Items, I'm not too fussed about. Let me go back to the contents page and see what else I want to look into. Gold and rewards, not interested in that. Adventuring, not interested. Combat, I did look into combat already in the starter section. Let me see if there's anything else added in this book that's different from what was in the starter rules. Let me skim through. Ah, mounted combat. Okay, this is something that wasn't in the book, in the starter rules. The artwork is so good. I keep stopping to look at this artwork. They drew Yasna so well in this one. It's giving you some information about different types of play. Negotiation schemes, social. Okay, I'm gonna skip past that. So I'm not sure how much I would use these strict rules. I might just, you know, free roleplay it with my players. If I'm being painfully honest. I think having too many rules can somewhat detract from the fun. Because you don't want your players to be thinking about all the rules they should be following. You want them to be focusing on the roleplay and getting immersed. And if having too many rules brings them out of the immersion, then maybe drop a few of them. But I guess people who do like crunchy systems and want to follow all the rules might get more fun out of it. It does depend on the players you play with. Yeah, I mean, let's have a look at this section. I think I'm more or less done reading through this. I've read the main bits I wanted to. So I'll give you my final thoughts about the Stormlight Archive, TTRPG, or the Cosmere RPG in general. I think it has a lot of potential. If I'm being very honest, it's got some very unique mechanics. I can see where they've drawn inspiration from. I know with things like Daggerheart coming out, everyone's like, oh, this new RPG is gonna destroy 5e and Dungeons and Dragons. It's the new hit thing. And I'm always skeptical when people say that. But I think this has definitely got a shot at being one of the most popular ones out there. Like, will it replace 5e? I don't know. I don't think it will. But I do think it has an advantage over Daggerheart. And what I'm saying here is we've got RPGs like Avatar Legends based on popular IP before, right? So I imagine this will be on the same level as that. People love Daggerheart, and the people who are going to be playing Daggerheart are people who are fans of Critical Role. The advantage that 5e has over Daggerheart is that 5e has so many source books and campaigns like Curse of Strahd, Sent into Avernus. It's got a big backlog, a big library of things and resources and stuff for players and DMs to dive into. Whereas Daggerheart is brand new, it hasn't built that up yet. And most of its existing material are just things like the Critical Role stuff. So it's building it in a way, but it's not at the same level as 5e yet. The advantage that the Cosmere RPG has is that Brandon Sanderson writes a lot of books. He's written a lot of really good books, and those books exist. And as this sort of grows and includes other Shardworlds, like maybe Warbreaker, I know Mistborn is coming, maybe other stories that he's written, if they get made into RPG like components and stuff for this, I think it has a possibility of outpacing Daggerheart, catching up to 5e, purely because there's so much source material to draw from and existing media to use. But I think it's gonna be an interesting one to watch. I know they've already released a module for it on Foundry. If I do run this game at all, I'll probably use that Foundry module. I believe there's also an adventure already pre-written. I think it's a canon adventure called Stonewalkers, which I'll look into. If I do ever run a one-shot, it'll be with that. Anyway, this has been my look through of the Stormlight handbook of the Cosmere RPG. Let me know in the comments below what you think about it, if you're looking forward to playing it, if there's anything you want to learn more about. And like, comment, subscribe. I run a D&D campaign on this channel. We're currently running through Odyssey of the Dragon Lords. We stream every Sunday, or every other Sunday. So I'd appreciate it if you guys followed along with us through that. It's a Greek mythology based campaign made by the writers of Mass Effect, which has been honestly fantastic. Would recommend it. I've done other campaigns in the past before, like I've run Blades in the Dark, we've done a Avatar campaign, we've done Discworld, we've done Star Wars. Please do check out our other content. We put a lot of work into them. We're very proud of all the stuff we made. And hopefully I'll see you next time we go live. Sayonara.